Hey guys, today I wanted to just talk about some actual tips to get better, get to legend, get to whatever your Hearthstone goals are at legend. And these are not the super easy tips. These are what I call the try hard tips, where you're willing to actually put in some effort and not just like look for some easy, quick solution. Now these aren't necessarily hard solutions, but they are. You have to put effort, and the effort will be rewarded manyfold. I think in the end, putting this effort into trying hard will make you learn faster. Now, maybe you just want to autopilot and get better, but chances are, if you're here watching this video, chances are you're already putting a little effort to watch this video. You're willing to put a little bit of effort in your games to get better faster. So these are my try hard tips to get better, get that easy legend faster, and play better. And these aren't as much about playing the game, but more about habits to improve at Hearthstone for it better. So first tip I have is take notes. I think after every game, it's really good to write something. Hey, I should have done this. Maybe I needed to trade my 3/3 on their 2/2. I needed to set up lethal on turn 6. Just to add something. It's really good for your brain to give context of this is what happened this game, and this is the thing I could have done to improve it. And try to not have your notes be like, get luckier. That's not a good note. Like, wow, every game, if I just was luckier, we would have won. And if you're going to go with that, say, how did you get lucky and how did you not get lucky? Realistically, when most players think about them getting unlucky, they might ignore the first 5 turns where they got lucky, and then turn 6 they get unlucky, and they make it look like they got unlucky the whole time. So that's not a good note. But in general, just write something down from every game. And you don't even have to end up looking at those notes. It's more about giving your brain time to interpret what happened and what we can learn from it. If you do that, trust your brain, because there's a lot of information in Hearthstone to just get more information. Maybe be like, oh, this card does this, Morg doubles the damage. Counterspell beats Flare. What was something along those lines of knowing this principle in Hearthstone, I need to remember this. Two, it's called engage your brain. So it's very easy to just autopilot in Hearthstone. And sometimes it's fun to autopilot. Just chill, play mana, spend whatever, just do it. But if you want to get better faster, engaging your brain, really good. Try to use full. And so when I'm really try-harding, which is GM matches, Master Tour matches, I literally go through a checklist. I'll be like, okay, right from the beginning of the game, what does my opponent have in their hand? What do I have in hand? What is my general plan for the next few turns? What are some top decks that I would like? What are some top decks that I would have to that are really bad that I would have to change my plan? Can I still win with those top decks? What are some likely plays for my opponent? If they have a high roll, can I deal with it? If they have a low roll, can I punish it? What are they going to do next turn? How long is this game going to go for? Should I be looking to win quickly? Should I be looking to win slowly? How much time do I have? If they play this minion, just try and use, there's just so many things to think about in Hearthstone. And the reality is you're complete autopiloting. You're probably missing tons of information and tons of potential stuff to alter your plays. So the reality is your brain is your friend, and try to use it to the maximum you can. Now, you might get exhausted with that, and that's fine. So often this is something along that when I'm just exhausted and I don't want to engage my brain, what I often do is just autopilot. And then I do that when I step 1, take notes. So you think, oh, this thing that normally you would be paying attention to, but you've missed, write that down. That means you haven't quite mastered that concept because your autopilot didn't do that. So that's something you could do if you're feeling a little exhausted and you don't want to be fully engaged. But if you want to be a really good player, or even just get better faster, using your brain, I know, sounds crazy, is going to make you play better faster. Next up is co-op with friends. Find some friends and get on Discord and play games with them. And then you can hear them with what they think, and you can see, oh, this is what they think that you should do. And you can learn from them, and you can both correct each other's biases. One player might say, oh, I think it's this play. No, I think it's this play. And even if neither of you are right, just having that, like, somebody thinks that this is the right play can be helpful to just add different plays to your reservoir. If you don't have friends, one, you could add people. If you have a cool game, add someone. Not everyone's going to respond because a lot of players add and just say mean things. But if you add them and then say GG, well played, compliment, maybe you like their deck, maybe you like, I think your play was great. Ideally, you want to play against players you think are good players, so they do a great play. And one, they're already at the similar level because they're on ladder, but they do a great play. You're complimenting them, says, I think you're a good player. And then, maybe if they keep adding, then you could say later, like, hey, you interested in ever doing a co-op, You could also meet people on streams. I know people on my stream have met each other and co-opted many times in my channel. So you can find, you regularly see people on streams and get together. That's a great way to make some friends. Another thing you could do is play in Master Tour tournaments. You have to add people as friends, at least temporarily. And a lot of people will won't remove you from their friends list so that you could say, hey, you want to co-op sometime. So put yourself out there. You'll get rejected sometimes. That's the reality of life. But you can make some friends, and then you can have people to hang out with and learn from each other. So next try hard tip is watch streamers. So I think there's so much. One of the realities of, I remember when I learned poker, I had to learn from books. There wasn't great learning material. And now there's just so many top tier players. You can watch the best players in the world play Hearthstone. And so if you can either catch them live, but if you can't catch them live, what you can do is actually go online. You could actually find someone playing the deck you want to learn. So I'm going to show you guys here on HS Replay, and I use this tool all the time. So here we have HS Replay. Let's say I want to learn a Face Hunter. It's a tough deck. I'm like, I don't know what my choice. Do I go face? Do I trade? I don't know. So we can go to VODs here, and this is on this, and I believe this is completely free. And bam, you can see top players playing your deck. See here, we already got, I'm not even going to show them much. It auto queues into a game, and you can watch them. And you can watch top players play your deck, and you can find a stream. You can see here, you got McBanterface, you got Luker playing Face Hunter, you got Bandit Keith playing Face Hunter. So these are all players playing at a top 50 legend. Great players to learn from. So go watch their streams, see what they do, even if they don't play perfectly. But remember, when you're watching, it's really important that you try and figure out, what are they thinking? Why are they doing this? The problem is if you just blindly copy without understanding. Now, sometimes it can be good to blindly copy, but don't treat what their plays as gospel. Try and think it as maybe this is an interesting idea. You want to incorporate the knowledge you see from them into your own understanding of Hearthstone. So it's more like, oh, I understand Hearthstone. This is not my normal play. That's what they do. But this other principle, like, oh, I need to play around this card, or this card's going to kill me if I don't kill it, adds nicely into my knowledge. Now, if it's something just so foreign to you, it's going to be a lot harder to learn. So remember, try to incorporate the knowledge you see from their plays into your knowledge. All right, next we got stick to one deck. This is a big thing. The reality is, chances are, if you're here, you don't have 8 hours a day, and I don't even like playing 8 hours a day except during GM. It's a lot of time to play 8 different decks and master them all. Reality is, to get it good, you have to specialize. Players who get #1 legend got really good at their deck. They weren't playing 80 different decks. They were playing a deck and they were getting good at it. So specializing is very important. So I think there's that famous Bruce Lee kick quote. I fear not the man who practices 10,000 kicks once, but the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. A great quote, just showing, in order to master something, you got to do it over and over again. So keep playing your same deck. And this is great if you're a free-to-play player, because you only need one deck. And matter of fact, you'll do better if you play the same deck. So if you enjoy constant novelty, that's fine, but that's going to hurt you as a competitive player long-term, and it's going to make it harder for you to learn concepts. Reality is, you're just always going to be learning, oh, this is this and this is that, and it's going to be harder for you to learn bigger Hearthstone principles because you won't be forced in it. Because often the way you learn is you learn all the basics, this, and then all of a sudden, after you do all this, all of a sudden this bigger Hearthstone principle becomes clear of like, oh, I need to be doing this, but without these foundations. And it's hard if you're always learning the foundations. It's hard to get to those bigger Hearthstone principles. So playing one deck, really important. Next try hard tip, we got review complicated turns. So if you watch my stream often, if I have a really tough turn that I mess up, I'll go back into the HS replay and look at it and see what did I do. So to show you what a replay looks like real quick. So you open an HS replay and looks like let's say I have a really complicated turn. Now I might go and say, did I mess up here? Let's review this turn. Maybe I should have done this. I don't know, whatever. But it's really good to just review those turns and see, could you have done something better? I think I remember even in this game, but yeah, so, and you might say, okay, well, what was the better play? And because turns are really complicated, often you don't have time to think about everything. So, a really tough turn, go take 5 minutes and say, what should I have done there? Maybe I do this, maybe I do this. Do I do this order? Do I do this order? Spend that time, especially in your games. It's a lot more personalized than seeing some other complicated position because you were there, So I think that's a really good exercise. Go back into your games and look at what you did and see, can you improve on it? And often especially these complicated turns, I think complicated turns, people think, oh, you have to be so good. Really, it's about doing 20 things, easy things all at once. So individually, a lot of times these complicated turns, one part isn't that hard, but it's stacking them all together into one single turn is what makes things difficult. And really test what you've mastered. If you haven't really mastered something, when you're under time pressure and you have all these things, often your brain will turn to mush. So it's really good to go and get these complicated turns really show like, oh, I need to do this order, or I need to make sure to remove important minions, or I can freeze a minion and not kill it. That was something I should have done. Or I need to go for a wand thief out here. Stuff like that can be a really good review for your games and to get better principles going long term. And next we have ask a friend, a coach, look at games. So we talked about review your own complicated turns. Sometimes you're going to have games that you just don't even know what you're doing wrong. And it's going to be really, this is kind of the last resort. Because you can do all these things on your own, for the most of your own. But if you're really struggling, saying, I have no idea what I'm doing wrong. I've looked at other streamers. Ask a friend or a coach. But you don't need a coach. You could just find a friend, and even the friend doesn't have to be a great player. If they're similar players to you, they're going to have different biases than you, and their biases that might help yours. So maybe they always go face, and you always trade, and your friend says, okay, you need to be going face here, and you're like, oh, okay, and then maybe another spot they don't convince you, but they might say, okay, like just the fact they have that bias will open your eyes, and maybe I need to be going face here. Maybe that's one of the things I can do better to win. So same thing, go into your game, say, hey, what should I have done, friend? What did I have to do in this spot? And they might say, I think we do this actually, I think this is better. Stuff like that. That can be really good. And finally, we say, think about the why, not just the what. I think a lot of players will say, oh, what should I do here? What should I do here? Do I keep this? Do I keep this? The problem is if you always live in the what, when things change, you're going to have learned nothing. It's important to turn what's into whys. So I do this play and I don't really understand it first maybe, but then you say, oh, this is the principle. And the principle is, maybe it's like, I need to spend all my mana, or maybe it's when I can't, maybe it's, I don't need to, when I already have a lot of stuff on board against a control deck, I don't need to necessarily put more stuff on board. There might be a principle that you learn, and that's because their board clears everything anyway. So you might learn a bigger principle, and then when you're in another scenario that you see that same principle, you're going to learn faster. And that you could put that stuff into your brain of like, okay, this concept here, this concept here, this concept here. Problem is, if you don't have these buckets of things to put in, you have a bunch of like, do this, do this, do this, do this, without the why. It's going to be just very hard long term for you to maintain that. You might learn, if you're playing a very linear deck, like let's say you're playing an old Face Hunter, like not the new Face Hunter, even like the old Face Hunter, where you literally just play quest on one, got your whatever. I feel icky. I can't remember his name. Got your 1/1s. You just literally just burn down your opponent. You could play that deck, and you wouldn't need to understand things. You could just learn. All right, go face, spend mana. But if you don't look for bigger principles, the problem is the moment that deck doesn't make sense, you're not going to have learned much long term. So make sure to be looking for the whys and understand the bigger concepts in the game, not just the what. So anyways, I hope that helped you guys get that easy legend, except it's not easy. You had to try hard, but try harding will pay off. So you don't have to try hard all the time, but a little bit of try harding here and there can make you learn so much faster. So anyways, hope you guys like this. Enjoy.